the shunt, what are the pathway of this? We are understand by this further slide. Okay. So it is also called the pentose phosphate pathway or phosphogluconate pathway because you know that at the end of this pathway, HMP pathway, the pentose sugar is synthesized. Okay, so the name of this pathway also called the pentose phosphate pathway, and one of the substrate in between that is the phosphogluconate. So you can also call the phosphogluconate pathway. So why this HMP shunt required? There is an alternative pathway for the glycolysis and TCA cycle for oxidation of the glucose. So if we catabolize or if we want to oxidation of glucose, so glucose goes into the either get the glycolysis TCA cycle, but there is another way. Around 10% of the glucose that will be goes into this HMP pathway for the oxidation of itself. Okay, but here remember this is anabolic in nature because it does not yield any energy or use ATP or liberate the ATP. Okay, whatever is product is there, that will be NADPH. Suppose NADPH. Okay, that will be utilized in synthesis of various molecules. So you can say that HMP shunt is more anabolic. It causes the oxidation of glucose, but whatever the product is there, that will be used in the synthesis of certain molecule in our body, like fatty acid. Okay, so it is more anabolic in nature. So as I already told that that most common two that molecule synthesized from HMP shunt, that is importance of the HMP shunt, that is NADPH and pentose. Okay, so 10% of glucose that enter into this pathway. Okay, liver and RBC metabolize about 30% of the glucose by this pathway. But all the tissue that is used 10% by this pathway. But specifically liver and RBC, okay, that will be metabolized 30% of glucose by this pathway. So the location is already said that it is in tissue like liver, adipose tissue, adrenal gland, RBC, testis, mammary gland. Okay, but it located into the cytosol. Remember, it does not goes into the mitochondria. Specifically, it occurs into the cytosol. Okay? So whatever the synthesized NADPs that will be used in biosynthesis of fatty acid and steroid. Okay? So it is this pathway is called as a anabolic pathway more. Okay, start from the glucose 6 phosphate. As we already know that glucose is converted into the glucose 6 phosphate with help of the glucokinase or hexokinase enzyme. Okay, so further 10% of glucose that will be diverted toward the this pathway. Okay, so here I already say that earlier that no ATP will be utilized or produced in this pathway. Okay, but several interconvertible substance will be produced. Now reaction. Mainly in this pathway, two reaction is there, oxidative and non-oxidative. Okay, so in oxidative, more and more NADPH is synthesizing pathway. Other that ribose 5 phosphate mainly that is synthesized, and you know that ribose 5 phosphate that is required for the synthesis of nucleic acid, specifically DNA and RNA. Okay. So first step, that is the glucose 6 phosphate that is oxidized to the glucose 6 by the glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme, and 6 phosphogluconolactone that is formed. Okay. So here most important enzyme that is G6PD in short form, or you can say glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase. Okay. So in this reaction, one NADPH is formed, and this is the rate limiting step. Okay, so this is the first. Second step is the 6-phosphogluconate that will be converted into the 6-phosphogluconate. Okay, gluconolactone into the glucose with help of the enzyme hydrolase enzyme. Further, in third step, uh, that will be again synthesize one second molecule of NADPH. Okay, so 6-phosphogluconate that will be converted into the that ribulose 5-phosphate. Okay, ribulose 5-phosphate. So 6-phosphogluconate ribulose 5-phosphate with help of the hydrogenase enzyme. Okay, so up to this three reaction, that is the oxidative. Okay, but from here that after ribulose 5-phosphate, that is the non-oxidative. So step 4, that ribulose 5-phosphate that will be isomerized. Okay, so just change in the structure, but whatever the molecular formula that remain the same. Okay, so the enzyme is epimerase. So from ribulose 5-phosphate, ribose 5-phosphate synthesize or xylulose 5-phosphate synthesize. Okay, two molecule of glucose and enter into this pathway. One is ribose 5-phosphate is synthesized, and second is goes into the xylulose 5-phosphate. After that, step 5, that is called the transketolase reaction. Remember here one that coenzyme is required in form of the B complex vitamin. That is the thiamine. Thiamine. Okay. So this thiamine, the active form is the thiamine pyrophos, shortly says TPP. Okay. So here enzyme is transketolase enzyme in fifth reaction that required the TPP, that is the vitamin B complex. Okay. So what happened here? The transfer of 2 carbon unit from, so here end of this first reaction of non-oxidative, that ribulose 5-phosphate is converted into the ribose 5-phosphate and xylulose 5-phosphate. Now the 2 carbon from xylulose 5-phosphate goes to the transfer to the ribose 5-phosphate. So we have 5 molecule substrate, but end of this we have the 7 and 3 carbon molecule. Okay, so 7 carbon molecule, that is the pseudoheptulose 7 phosphate, and 3 phosphate, that is the glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate. Okay, so 10 carbon remain the 10 carbon, but the that molecule structure is the change. Okay, here 1 carbon is liberated. Okay, sorry, no carbon is liberated, only the transfer is there. After that, transketolase reaction, step 6 is transaldolase. Okay, then after again transketolase is there. So transketolase, transaldolase, then transketolase. So in transaldolase, what happened? 3 carbon fragment from pseudoheptulase. We have 7 carbon that molecule. From that, 3 carbon is transferred to the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Okay, second molecule. So what happened? Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate now have 6 carbon. So it will be converted into the fructose 6-phosphate. Okay, and remaining, that is the 4 carbon, that is the erythrose 4-phosphate. So simply in initially 2,5,5 carbon is there, then in transketolase reaction 7 and 3 carbon is there. After that transaldolase 6 and 4 carbon that product is remaining. Okay, so ultimately the 10 carbon is there. Now second reaction, second transketolase reaction, as I already told, that will be occur. So here, so in first reaction of non-oxidative, already 1 xylulose 5-phosphate we have. Okay, So this from this cellulose 5-phosphate molecule, there is a carbon that is transferred to that erythrose 4-phosphate. Okay, and that erythrose 4-phosphate converted into the fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So we see in the next slide, so that will be better understandable. Okay. So at end of this reaction, fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate that is synthesized and that further metabolized by glycolysis and TCA cycle. Okay, so fructose 6-phosphate goes into the glycolysis and that further goes into the TCA cycle. So now we see in the pathway that pathway in reaction picture. So starting with the oxidative, this 3 reaction, glucose 6-phosphate converted into the 6-phosphogluconate. Okay, here most important enzyme that is the glucose 6 dehydrogenase G6PD enzyme. Okay, second hydrolase. Okay, so here 3 reaction, 2 NADPH is formed. So end of this oxidative pathway, ribulose 5-phosphate is synthesized. Okay, now this ribulose 5-phosphate, these 2 molecules of ribulose 5-phosphate, okay, that will be either converted into the xylulose 5-phosphate and ribose 5-phosphate. Now ribose 5-phosphate goes for the reaction. This xylulose 5-phosphate remain side. Okay, just remember here one xylulose 5-phosphate is there. Okay, now we move through from the ribose 5-phosphate. Okay, so first transketolase, that reaction TPP is there. Okay, if 2 molecule of ribose 5-phosphate is there, okay, then sorry, 1 molecule of xylulose 5-phosphate and 1 molecule of ribose 5-phosphate that will be entered. Okay, so ultimately this 5,5 carbon converted into the 7,3 carbon. Okay, then transaldolase, same, that 7,3 total 10 carbon that will be converted into the 6,4. Okay, so total 10 carbon is there. This reaction is called the transaldolase. Okay, here 10 carbon, same 10 carbon, and here also same 10 carbon is there. Now remember, the at end of this transaldolase, erythrose 4-phosphate is there. Okay, that combined with xylulose 5-phosphate, that is the first product of non-oxidative pathway. Okay, here xylulose 5-phosphate. Okay, if 3 glucose is entered, then remember 2 xylulose 5-phosphate is there and 1 ribose 5-phosphate is there. So 1 xylulose 5-phosphate and 1 ribose 5-phosphate enter into this reaction. But second molecule of this xylulose 5-phosphate that react with this erythrose 4-phosphate. This reaction is called the transketolase enzyme. Okay. So at end of this, again, this 5 molecule and this 4 molecule. Okay. So total 6 fructose 6-phosphate and 3 molecule of this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Okay. So remember here, if 3 glucose molecule enter into the HMP pathway, to end of this reaction, 2 xylulose 5-phosphate is there and 1 ribose 5-phosphate is there. Okay. So now 1 molecule of this and 1 molecule of this go forward and form these 2 molecules. Okay, erythrose 4-phosphate and fructose 6-phosphate. Now 1 molecule that remain in this reaction, that combine with this, and at the end of this, that will be formed fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Okay. So this is again same reaction. Now, what is the significance of the HMP? This is all about the pathway. Okay, but now we move on to the significance of the HMP pathway. So two product of HMP pathway is there. First is the NADPH and second is the pentose sugar, ribose 5-phosphate. Okay, so let discuss about the ribose 5-phosphate. Okay, so we know that for the synthesis of DNA and RNA, pentose sugar is required. Okay, so this pentose sugar is come from this HMP pathway. Okay, and many nucleotides like ATP, NAD plus, FAD, CoA that also require 5-phosphate, ribose 5-phosphate. So this ribose 5-phosphate that is come from the that HMP shunt. Okay. Now, second molecule NADPH. What is the importance of this NADPH? So NADPH is required for the, as I already told, the synthesis of fatty acid and steroids. So it is anabolic in nature. Okay. So remember why we call this reaction to the anabolic, because of that synthesize the fatty acid and steroid. Okay. Now, second most important role of NADPH, that is the for the scavenging part of the free radical. So how this NADPH scavenger? So NADPH is used in synthesis of certain amino acid involving the enzyme glutamate dehydrogenase. Okay. So second part is to synthesize certain amino acid. Third is the free radical scavenging. Okay, you know that our in our body there are lots of free radical that synthesize every day, like superoxide, hydrogen peroxide from the oxygen and other parts. Okay, so these free radical are very harmful to our body, like it destroys the DNA or protein or fatty acid. Okay, so ultimately it destroys the cell and it hampers the activity of the tissue, that free radical. Okay, so to cope up with this free radical, we have one system that is called the antioxidant system. Okay, so to inactivate this free radical, we have certain kind of the enzyme that is like SOD, superoxide dismutase, peroxide dismutase, and glutathione reductase. This enzyme will help to inactivate the free radical. So now glutathione reductase, remember glutathione reductase, this enzyme required one coenzyme that is the NADPH. Okay, so remember, to inactivate the free radical, we require the enzyme that is glutathione reductase enzyme. Okay, and this glutathione reductase enzyme required NADPH. So ultimately, to inactivate the free radical, we require the NADPH. Second part, apart from the free radical, erythrocyte membrane, RBC membrane, to maintain the integrity of this RBC membrane, we require the NADPH, because you know that in RBC, uh, in daily routine, everyday life, RBC produce some kind of the O2, free O2 radical. Okay, so to destroy this free O2 radical, we require this NADPH. Okay, so NADPH causes the uh, that required for the glutathione reductase enzyme, and this glutathione reductase enzyme that will be inactivate the that free radical that produce into the RBC. So ultimately, you can say that NADPH indirectly required for the integrity of RBC membrane. If NADPH is not there, then glutathione reductase enzyme cannot be work properly. So whatever the free radical in RBC is there, that will be not neutralized. Okay. So now free radical will be increased into the RBC. So it will be destroy the membrane of the RBC. Okay. So NADPH is required in the RBC. And further, methemoglobin. Okay. Do you remember the methemoglobin? So methemoglobin is nothing but remember this structure of that hemoglobin that have iron in its structure, in that structure. Okay, so iron is in form of ferrous. Okay, not ferric, because if ferric form is there, then hemoglobin does not transfer the O2. Okay, so iron always in Fe plus 2 form, that is ferrous form. If it is converted into the Fe plus 3 form, then this form of the Hb is called the methemoglobin. Okay, so to prevent this formation from Fe plus 2 to Fe plus 3, NADPH is take part important role to prevent the formation of methemoglobin, because NADPH have property of reductive. Okay. Now, subsequent like detoxification of some drug also required that NADPH. How? So you remember that in I think in subsequent course there is a one chapter is there, a detoxification chapter. Okay. So in most of drug that detoxify in the liver with help of enzyme, that is the microsomal P450 enzyme. This enzyme require NADPH to act. Okay. So ultimately, indirectly, the detoxification of drug that require NADPH. Further importance, that is the lens of the eye. Okay. In our lens of the eye, there are you know that our lens is the transparent, and there are free radicals produced in our eye. So if NADPH is not there, that will be free radical that hamper this transparency of this lens, and it causes the cloudiness of the lens. Okay, so ultimately for the maintenance of the transparency of the lens, NADPH have most important role. Uh, Additional role that is of NADH, that is the macrophage bactericidal activity. Okay, so you know that when bacteria enter in the body, macrophage will be engulf this bacteria and toxin and further degraded this bacteria. But how? That is that reaction is there, that is called the uh, respiratory burst. Okay, so this respiratory burst require this NADPH. By this respiratory burst, that will kill the bacteria. Okay, so this is all importance of the NADPH. Okay, now how this HMP shunt is regulated. Before we discuss about the what is the importance of the HMP shunt like ribose and NADPH. Now we move on to the regulation of the HMP shunt. Okay, so I would like to discuss how this regulated. Now, the first step I already discussed that that enzyme, that is the glucose 6-phosphatase dehydrogenase enzyme. Okay, so if there is a high amount of glucose 6-phosphate is there, then this G6PD enzyme that will be activated. Okay, so when there is a high carbohydrate meal, or you can say in well-fed state, what happens? More and more glucose is available, so more and more insulin is there. Okay, so you can say insulin glucagon ratio is high in case of the high carbohydrate meal. Okay, so in this condition, this insulin will induce the or activated the G6PD enzyme. Okay, So what happens? More and more glucose is diverted or utilized or diverted toward that HMP shunt. So in well-fed state, carbohydrate meal, there is a high insulin glucagon ratio. Insulin is responsible for induction of this enzyme, G6PD enzyme. Okay. So glucose diverted to the HMP shunt. Second, now we move on to the this is the regulation part. Now I would like to discuss about the some clinical aspect of this HMP shunt or related with the G6PD deficiency. Okay. So most common that clinical aspect that is the G6PD enzyme deficiency. So remember, if there is a this G6PD deficiency is there, then what happens? No ribose synthesized, no NADPH is synthesized. Okay, so NADPH is not there, then whatever the important role of NADPH is there, that will be not performed by this uh, NADPH. So what happened? More and more free radical is there in the RBC and in our body, and that will be further damage to our tissue and RBC membrane. Okay, so let's start with the G6PD deficiency. So it is a inherited sex-linked trait. Okay, is more severe in RBC. Okay, remember we discussed that to maintain the RBC's that membrane integrity, that NADPH, ultimately G6PD enzyme is most important. Okay, so when G6PD activity is decreased or not there, NADPH is decreased in RBC. So what happens? That will be caused the accumulation of the more and more free radical into the RBC. So that will be destroy the RBC membrane, ultimately lead to the hemolysis. Okay. So this type of the patient like G6PD deficiency. So when you give some certain drug or toxin, that will be further increase the production of the more and more free radical in the RBC, and that will be precipitate the uh, that attack of the G6PD deficiency. Okay, like if you take anti-malarian drug like primaquine, or you take some molecule like beans, favizum, or sulfa drug, that will be cause more and more production of the free radical apart from the normal. Okay, but here there is a already G6PD that enzyme is deficient. Okay, so it will be further lead to the hemolysis, more and more destruction of the RBC, and it precipitate the hemolysis. Okay, so this patient is suffer from the jaundice that you already know, that pre-hepatic jaundice that is hemolytic phase. Okay, so further destruction of RBC, hemoglobin. Okay, so ultimately it lead to the hemolytic anemia. Okay, this is the important aspect, that is the G6PD deficiency and malaria. So remember, and you know about the malaria, that malarial parasite that will be remain live in the RBC. If this parasite is out of RBC, then it cannot survive. So simply, if malaria parasite out of the RBC, that will be not survive, it will be die. Okay. So for the survival of this parasite, it requires the RBC. Okay. So in the patient of G6PD deficiency, the more and more RBC is destroyed, or that will be hemolysis will occur. So in this patient, the malarial parasite will be not survive in the RBC. So this type of the patient, like G6PD deficiency is there, that patient have no chances or less chances to get the malaria, because I told earlier that malarial parasite only live in the